warm welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Global TV AM News live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I am Fauziya Lukman. President Bola Tinubu has appointed a top prosecutor for the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, EFCC, Rotimi Oyedepo, and 6 other new aides. The new appointees have been deployed to the Federal Ministry of Justice, Abuja. They are meant to function under the Attorney General of the Federal and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi. They are Hussaini Olayede, Special Assistant to the Arbitration, Drafting and Regulations; Rotimi Oyedepo, SAN, Special Assistant to the Financial Crimes and Public Prosecution Compliance; Monsurat Ghaffar, Special Assistant to the Coordinator and Intergovernmental Agency Relations; Marcos Obene Fernandez, Special Assistant on Justice Sector Reforms and Digital Innovative Technology; Ahmed Wada, Special Assistant to Special Duties; Tolu Obamo, Technical Advisor on Oil and Gas Arbitration and International Disputes. Similarly, President Bola Tinubu on Monday said he has absolute confidence in the integrity of Chief of Staff Femi Gbajabiamila. Tinubu said this just before the commencement of this week's Federal Executive Council meeting at the Council Chamber of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. His comment comes just 48 hours after a report emerged that the COS may be battling an integrity crisis following allegations that he has been trading off appointment in government of President Tinubu to the highest bidder. The report alleged the growing outcry among Tinubu's loyalists who are insisting that Gbajabiamila is eased out of the presidential villa. But responding to the allegations, President Tinubu affirmed that I have absolutely confidence in my Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila. So all campaign of calumny, the buck stop here. If I make mistakes, I'll own up to them. I iron them out and correct them. Perfection is of God, unquote. People's Democratic presidential candidate in February 25th election, Atiku Abubakar says Supreme Court and the presidential election petition have allegedly truncated the trust of Nigerians and electoral system in Nigeria. The former vice president, during a press briefing in Abuja on Monday, criticized the verdict of the Supreme Court on the 2023 presidential elections. Kike Lomo Ukiri has the details.
It is a world press conference where the former vice president of Nigeria and the People Democratic Party presidential candidate in the 2023 general election, Atiku Abubakar, rejects the judgment of the Supreme Court that affirmed the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Speaking on the verdict of the Supreme Court, Abubakar criticizes the electoral body and the judiciary for defending illegality.
I meant that the bigger laws would not be mine, but Nigeria's, if the Supreme Court legitimizes illegality, including forgery, identity theft, and perjury, as it has done.
Abubakar, however, emphasizes the erosion of trust in the electoral system and the importance of preserving Nigerian democracy for future generations. He advocates for reform to enhance transparency, build confidence in the electoral process, and restore voters' right to elect leaders.
The appointment of electoral officials has also been hijacked by the ruling party, as seen in the latest nomination of resident electoral commissioners, where card-carrying members of the ruling party and aides to politicians in the APC are being appointed into INEC. When two critical institutions like the court and the Electoral Commission are trapped in an evil web of political marginalization, it becomes next to impossible for democracy to thrive.
The former vice president, while acknowledging the end of the phase of his political career, expressed his ongoing commitment to strive for political and economic restructuring in Nigeria, primarily led by the young generation.
In my party, this phase of work is done. However, I'm not going to go away. If you think I'm going to go away, forget about it.
It could be recalled that Atiku, being dissatisfied by the presidential election results, headed for the Supreme Court and subsequently sought to include additional forgery evidence, which he obtained from Chicago State University. But the court objected this on the ground that plea was made outside 180-day mandatory period stipulated by the law. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
The former majority leader of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Edison Ehie, has emerged the new Speaker of the State Assembly. Meanwhile, the Chief Judge of Rivers State, Simeon Amadi, has been suspended. Global TV will keep further developments for our viewers. Similarly, the embattled governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, has declared that he has done nothing to warrant impeachment by the State House of the Assembly. Fubara said this on Monday while addressing his supporters at the Assembly complex shortly after the House members, led by their Speaker Martin Amaewhule, convened to begin the impeachment process against him. The governor, who assured the people of the state of getting the dividends of democracy, said he would speak on the matter at an appropriate time. There has been reports of gunfires and firing of tear gas within the Rivers State House of Assembly complex on Monday as some lawmakers sought to begin an impeachment process on Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The lawmakers also suspended the leader of the House, Edison Ehie, and some of their colleagues believed to be loyal to the governor. The development occurred hours after a fire broke out at the Assembly complex on Sunday night.
By the voting, those that voted in favor of the removal of Edison Ehie as the majority leader of this House, 23 against nil. By that result, Edison Ehie is now removed as the majority leader of the Rivers State House of Assembly as standing orders.
Members of the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria in Edo State on Monday shut the gates to the Edo State House of Assembly following the expiration of the ultimatum for the implementation of financial autonomy in legislative houses in the country. The situation will develop into a protest in front of the Assembly, preventing lawmakers from accessing the chamber. At the commencement of the nationwide industrial action on Monday, Umar Farouk Haruna, chairperson, Edo State Chapter, said the national president of PASAN, Comrade Mohammed Usman, has directed all chairmen and secretaries to mobilize members of maximum compliance. He added that the nationwide peaceful protest was being compiled by the Edo State PASAN members after the expiration of the 2-day ultimatum given to the government and governors of the 36 states to implement autonomy in all legislative houses in the country, which was further extended by 1 week and ended in October 27, 2023. You're watching Global TV AM News, coming to you live from the Nigerian's capital, Abuja. We are on Stardom Channel 276. Kindly follow us across social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. When the AM News return, Labour blames government officials over forex crisis as it meets federal government. The news continues shortly with details of this and other stories right after the break. Please don't go away. Welcome back to Global Television, bringing you live brokers of the AM News from the nation's capital, Abuja. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, has predicted sunny and thundery weather conditions from Monday to Wednesday across the country. NIMET's weather outlook released in Abuja predicted sunny skies over the northern region of Monday, with prospect of thunderstorms over parts of Taraba during the afternoon and evening periods. According to it, sunny skies with patches of clouds are anticipated over the northern central region, with prospect of thunderstorm over parts of the FCT, Benue, Nasarawa and Kogi State during the afternoon and evening hours. Cloudy skies with spell of sunshine are expected over the southern region, with prospect of morning thunderstorm over parts of Cross River, Bayelsa, Rivers and Akwa Ibom State. Isolated thunderstorms are expected over parts of Osun, Oyo, Ebonyi, Ekiti, Ondo, Edo, Imo, Anambra, Enugu, Abia, Lagos, Bayelsa, Delta, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River. The public is advised to take necessary precautions due to the dust particles presently in suspension in the atmosphere, urging individuals with respiratory ailments to prevent themselves as the current dusty weather condition could have adverse effects on their health. Airstrikes against identified terrorist hideout and enclave in Borno State, northern East Nigeria, continued over the weekend unabated. Sequel to the intelligence received from land components of the Operation Haɗin Kai that about 22 terrorists in a gun truck and 2 motorcycles were sighted near Murti. NFA aircraft of the air component of the Operation Haɗin Kai were immediately dispatched to interact the location. After trailing the terrorists for about 70 minutes, the terrorists in the gun truck and 2 motorcycles stopped underneath a tree, probably to refuel or evade the being seen. The targets were subsequently engaged with a huge ball of fire engulfing the area observed afterward, destroying the gun truck and motorcycles with no sign of movement observed afterward. The failed strategy adopted by terrorists to evade detection and the firepower of the land and air components of the Operation Haɗin Kai by moving from one point to another is indicative of their inability to hold ground and pose significant threat to the military formation or pick off soft civilian targets at will. Israeli troops and tanks attacked Gaza's main northern city from the east and west on Monday, 3 days after it began ground operation in the Palestinian enclave that have increased international pressure for civilians to be protected. Israel military said it has struck more than 600 militant targets over the past few days as it expands ground operations in Gaza Strip, where Palestinian civilians are in dire need of food, fuel, and clean water as the war enters its 4th week. Israel began a big push into Gaza late on Friday and renewed calls for civilians to move from north of the tiny coastal enclave to the south as it goes after Hamas militants it says are hiding in a labyrinth tunnel on the Gaza city. At least 3 people have been killed in the restive southern Philippines as millions turn out to vote for village leaders following months of deadly power-related violence. Security forces were on high alert across the country on Monday as the long delayed nationwide vote for more than 336,000 council positions got underway. More than 300 police officers and soldiers have been deployed to secure polling stations in more than 42,000 villages. The shootout happened during a confrontation between supporters of the rival candidates for village captain Said Datun Udin, Situan Municipality Police Chief Lieutenant Colonel Ismail Madin. A human error was cause of the deadly train crash that killed at least 14 passengers and injured nearly 50 in Indian southeastern Andhra Pradesh state. A passenger train overshot a signal on Sunday between the towns of Alamanda and Katamapalli in the Vinayanagram district. Striking a stationary train, at least 3 cars were derailed in the accident. Government officials says the rescue efforts were over and the focus was now on the track restoration. In his reaction on social media following the accident, Prime Minister Narendra Modi sought to assure people that officials are working to deal with the unfortunate rail derailment. Minister of Rails announced cancellation and diversion in the wake of the accident on its X handles. Hundreds of people have stormed in the main airport of Russia's Dagestan region, ostensibly to protest against the arrival of a flight from Israel amid the war in Gaza. The crowd on Sunday broke past security, with some making it onto the runway of the Machakala airport before they were removed by security forces. Russia's interior minister said more than 150 active participants in the unrest have been identified and 60 of them have been arrested. 9 police officers were injured in a clash with the crowd, including 2 who were receiving treatment at the hospital. The government warned the protesters on Telegram not to continue illegal acts and not to interfere with the work of airport employees. The World Bank has warned that war between Israel and Hamas could trigger price shocks for raw materials such as oil and agricultural products if the conflict escalated across the Middle East. The World Bank gave this warning on Monday in a report. Israel officials said that oil has been risen already to 6% since the latest round of fighting. sparks when Hamas militants from Gaza stormed southern Israel and killed more than 1,400 people, mostly civilians, and seized nearly 240 hostages. Israel has responded with an unrelenting bombardment of Gaza, which the Hamas-run health minister says has killed more than 8,000 people, nearly half of them are children. The conflict between Israel and Hamas comes as Russia's war in Ukraine has already put pressure on the market, with that war being the biggest shock to commodity markets since the 1970s, warned World Bank chief economist Internet Grill. The World Bank added that the potential price hikes will depend on what happens to the world oil prices and exports. Similarly, the World Bank has stated that the global oil price benchmark, Brent crude oil, will average $84 per barrel in 2023. The bank stated this in its Commodity Market Outlook report earlier released today, October 30th. In the report, the World Bank says the Brent crude oil prices are estimated to average $84 per barrel in 2023. Tipping further in the 2024 due to global growth weakening, they are predicted to stabilize in 2025 as both demand and supply recover. According to the World Bank report, in the third quarter of 2023, its energy price index saw a 9% rise, primarily driven by 11% increase in oil prices, making up a significant portion of nearly 80% of the index. This increase came after OPEC Plus supplies cut, leading to an effective withdrawal of an additional 1% of total supply from July 2023 onward. In the financial context, the Brent crude oil price experienced fluctuations, reaching a peak of $120 per barrel in June 2022, but receding by 23% to $95 per barrel by mid-October 2023. Various factors such as shift in expectation for economic growth and altercation in the OPEC oil cut significantly influenced their price variations throughout the year. Furthermore, oil prices were affected by the failure of major banks, fears of global recession, and OPEC production cuts, which led to steady price increase over the last few months. As we talk on business now, the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC on Sunday lamented the devastating impact of the foreign exchange crisis in the economy and demanded urgent stabilization of the naira. The NLC president, Joe Ajaero, who said this in a statement on Sunday, blamed government officials' love for foreign luxury products for the free fall of the national currency. Ajaero warned that the economy was at risk of what he termed a wave of devastating consequences if the naira failed to stabilize back to the greenback. The NLC president's warning came ahead of the organized labor and the federal government's meeting scheduled to hold. At the meeting, the federal government and the organized labor will review the implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding both parties signed on the subsidy removal palliatives. A quick look at sport. General Secretary of the Nigerian Football Federation, Mohammed Sunusi, has charged Super Falcons to work as a team and bring their best game to the 2024 Olympics qualifiers against Ethiopia in Abuja. Sunusi made this assertion after watching the 9-time African champions training session. He reminded players and officials of the team that Nigeria has been absent for the past 3 women Olympic football tournaments, and this certainly does not credit to the country's rating as the leading global power in the women football. After failing to qualify for the 2016 and 2020 editions of the Olympic in Rio de Janeiro and Tokyo respectively, he charged the Falcons to book a place at next year's event in Paris. The NFF General Secretary said the Federation and all stakeholders remain very proud of the team and called on the team to finish off the job in Abuja following last week's 1-1 draw in Addis Ababa during the first leg. And that's it on Global TV AM News.